Oh, the chair is here now.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Apologies, running a little bit behind. Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Let me pull this up here. Thank you all. I apologize, some technical difficulties over here. Okay, we're getting started. Let me bear with me 1 second. Okay. Well, welcome. We're getting started today. This is Riverside County Transportation Commission, Western Riverside County Programs and Projects Committee meeting. It is just after 1:30 on Monday, April 26th, 2021, and we are going to be calling this meeting to order. Let me see who we have on the line here. I see front and center, Mr. Councilmember Speak. Mr. Speak, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Everybody stand. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance who stands one nation under God. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Speak. Appreciate it. Okay, we are going to move on to our roll call. Lisa, could you please take us through that?
Yes, thank you. District 1,
District 1 here.
District 5,
Yes, I'm here.
Corona,
Present.
Eastville,
Present.
Hemet,
Present.
Harupa Valley,
Here.
Menifee,
Menifee's here.
Moreno Valley, Marietta,
Here.
Norco,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Voldemar. Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. I know that we will discombobulate here, but we do have some housekeeping remarks. We'll go through those really quickly. So thank you all for participating. We're doing this remotely today. We're going to do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting, and I know that we have an excellent staff that will also help keep me in order if I run off script too much here. So some of the guidelines: please silence your phones or your computers when you're not talking, and we're going to also, we will have public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak, please raise your hand. If you're doing so by calling in, by phone line only, do *9. And I believe that concludes our housekeeping comments here. That brings us to public comments. So, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on anything that is not listed on the agenda?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, in that we are doing this virtually, we're going to wait a second, but please raise your hand or press the *9 and let us know, okay? And hearing none, we're going to move on to additions, revisions. That's item number 5. Would anybody like to see anything moved around on the agenda? Looking here, not seeing anybody's comments or hands raised, going once, going twice. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 6, and that's our approval of minutes of March 22nd, 2021. Does anybody, any commissioners, any members of the public wish to weigh in on this or speak on this item?
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
They're voting on approval of minutes from April 26th, 2021, not March.
You were absolutely, I appreciate that.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, that's wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you for pointing that out. So
Motion
April,
to approve Bergson.
you, sir. We have a motion, and this
Second,
is
Corona.
excellent motion and a second. Any additional comments on this before we move on to a vote? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastvale,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
yes,
Norco,
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes.
Okay, excellent. Let me pull this up here. I think that I have the wrong item in front of me. So go back here. Okay. 1 second. If you guys could hold on for just 1 second, bear with me. I'm going to go offline for just 1 second here. Okay. Thank you for bringing that to my attention a moment ago. I have the previous month's agenda in front of me, so I'm trying to rectify that. So here we are, pulling this up now.
I just sent today's agenda to you via email.
Thank you. It's downloading. I was looking at the script while going over it. I apologize. Okay.
While that's downloading, would you like me to summarize what the next agenda item is and have the presentation start?
I have it here now. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. Okay, so this is item number 7, and this is the State Route 71, State Route 91 Interchange Improvement Project for Construction Management Services, Construction and Maintenance, and Cooperative Agreements. We're all on the same agenda, including me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
So, yes,
Before we get started, I just wanted to, I have a conflict on this item, so I won't be voting. Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, and I forget, I need to state why. My company is on the team. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so at this time, we're going to be hearing this item. Anne, did you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. So we have a number of things to consider. I'm sorry, I don't have the staff member here who's going to be reporting on this.
Bryce Johnston?
Mr. Johnston, would you please help us walk us through this item?
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Bryce Johnston. I am the RCTC project manager for this project. I'm here today to request the approval of the 3 items related to the 7191 project. Slide. The project overview are the key features, and here's a brief description of them. And we will be providing a new direct connector for the eastbound 71 to the northbound 91. Eastbound 91 to the northbound 71. Reconfigure westbound 91 to northbound 71. Reconfigure the Green River Road eastbound on-ramp and construct a new bridge crossing over the BNSF. Those are the main features of our project. Slide. We are currently completing the environmental revalidation. Slide, please. We're completing the revalidation, awaiting approval of final plans and obtaining resource agency permits. We expect approval of the final plans and specifications from Caltrans soon. There is an alphabet soup of permits required for this project, and we're in the process of obtaining all of those. We expect to advertise the project early in 2022 and the current estimate for the contract is $115 million. So of the items that we're requesting, the first one is the construction management agreement with Falcon Engineering. Since we anticipate construction soon, we have selected Falcon Engineering as our construction manager based on qualifications. We have negotiated a contract in the amount of $16,756,467 plus a contingency of $1,443,033 for a total amount of $18,200,000. Slide. The second item is the construction and maintenance agreement with the BNSF. We are constructing a new bridge over the BNSF tracks, which requires an agreement with them for the right-of-way costs, provide coordination, inspection, flagging, submittal review. The construction maintenance agreement is for $1,960,226 with a contingency of $196,022 for a total of $2,156,248. Slide. The third item is the Caltrans cooperative agreement. The cooperative agreement is a standard agreement between Caltrans and RCTC and is required for all on-system projects. This agreement defines the roles and responsibilities for each agency during the construction phase. RCTC will advertise, award, and administer the project, and Caltrans will be in an oversight role. This is a $0 agreement. Slide. So our path forward is to award the agreement to Falcon Engineering for our construction management services, to an approved agreement for the construction and maintenance with BNSF, and approve the cooperative agreement with Caltrans. These three agreements are required to progress the project and prepare for construction, which we expect in the summer of 2022. Slide. And so with that, take the opportunity to ask any questions you may have at this time.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Or any commissioners? I see Commissioner Benoit. We'll start with you. Ben, please.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say that, boy, this has been a long time coming, and I remember sitting on the 1591 project committee years ago when this was one of the items that we had to peel off so we can go ahead and get started on the larger project that we now have out there today. And I'm so excited to finally putting this piece of the puzzle back together. This is also a piece of the puzzle that I remember we went and tried to get another 75 million out of Washington, D.C. years ago and did not get. So to finally be at this point to be able to vote on it and get this to construction, I'm very excited and happy to finally be here. So I'm in full support, and I'd love to make the motion, especially since the member from Corona can't make the motion on it today. I'd love to make the motion.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. We'll make note of the motion. Commissioner Hoffman, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, Clint, thank you. I just have and listening to Bryce make those numbers, they didn't match on the construction maintenance agreement with BNSF. They didn't match the staff report that I have in front of me.
Well, I'm going to give you a correction. It may not have got put on the slideshow for the construction maintenance and BNSF are the numbers in the staff report. And it could be 1,957,727.
That's correct.
Contingency of 195,773 and 2,153. I just apologize. We didn't probably make a correction on that slide.
Okay, so the numbers in the staff report are correct?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay, I just want to check because good clarification. But I'm like Commissioner Benoit. I'm fully supportive of this project.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Does that mean that you are making a second?
I will do that. Yes.
Okay. We have a first and we have a second. Do we have any other commissioners that would like to weigh in on this item? Okay, I don't see any. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay, not seeing any. We have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
District 1,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Eastvale,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Astounding, yes.
Thank you. That item does pass.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That brings us to item number 8, and that's an amendment to the cooperative agreement with the City of Paris and amendment to agreement with TY Lin International for the Interstate 215 Placentia Avenue interchange project. Mr. Johnston, I believe you're also going to be walking us through this.
Yeah, welcome again. Good afternoon again, commissioners. And again, I'm Bryce Johnston. I'm the construction manager for RCTC on this project. I'm here to present this additional design support authorization and approval of an amendment to the existing storm drain agreement with the City of Paris. Slide. The project overview, the 215 Placentia Interchange project will add ramps, widen the bridge over the freeway and the Paris Valley Line tracks. It'll relocate existing local streets and add extensive drainage improvements. I'd like to point out on the location map where the yellow or orange color abuts against the purple color of the city's widening project. This is at the intersection of Indian Avenue and Placentia Avenue, and this represents one of the reasons for one of our recommendations today. So, slide. The project status. This project is part of the Mid-County Parkway. It is the west end of the Mid-County Parkway and the first construction package. RCTC is the lead agency, and we have been working in partnership with several other agencies. The project began construction in August of 2020 and is approximately 30% complete. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, the project is anticipated to be substantially complete by September of next year. Slide. For the TY Lin amendment, the original agreement was entered into in November of 2016. Subsequently, there have been 4 amendments approved by the Commission for Design and Design Support. The proposed amendment is for an additional $284,813 for design support during construction. There are 2 main reasons for this request. First, the drainage culverts within the Metrolink operating right-of-way were redesigned to reduce impacts and risk to the Metrolink service. The second item is design changes that were needed to resolve the overlapping work zones with the City of Paris to minimize conflicts at the intersection of Indian and Placentia. This results in some of the scope of our work in our contract being transferred to the city. Slide. The City of Paris amendment, this is a big part of the interchange consists of the drainage improvements, including 2 large detention basins, a storm drain downstream of the project. On Placentia Avenue is also necessary to handle flows for the large area draining to the site on the west side of the freeway. The City of Paris agreed to build storm drain as part of their Placentia Avenue widening project. So in January of 2019, agreement with the city was approved by the commission to reimburse them for the portion of the storm drain costs attributable to our project. Since that time, as the plans have been finalized and approved, costs have increased, and the commission's share of that increase is $300,000. Because our plans were completed before the city plans, our project included the reconstruction of the westerly half of the intersection of Indian Avenue and Placentia Avenue. The city has now completed their design, and it is evident that one agency with one contractor should build the entire intersection and the traffic signal to avoid the numerous potential conflicts. This requested amendment will increase the storm drain contribution and pay the city to build for the entire intersection. We will issue a change order to our contractor to eliminate the intersection work from our contract. Actual bid prices were used to calculate the value of the transfer to the city to perform the work. The value of this amendment is $1,081,000 dollars. I'm sorry, $1,081,157. Slide. In summary, we are requesting the committee to approve the TY Lin amendment in the amount of $284,813 and the amendment with the city of Paris for $781,157 and forward to the commission for final approval. Closing slide. So that is my presentation for this action on Placentia Avenue, and I'm willing to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Do we have any commissioners that have any questions or would like to speak on this item? Okay, hands are raising. The first to raise their hand was Mayor Zimmerman. Mr. Zimmerman, please. You're on mute, though.
I unmuted and it muted myself. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question has to do very similar with the previous question regarding which one is correct, the amount for in the PowerPoint slide or the amount that's in the staff report. I'm thinking specifically of the TY Lin agreement, and I think the report said 257,000, but the slide says 284.
I believe it's the 284 in the staff report. This might have just been, I apologize, it might have been that we didn't update that slide. I will need to get back. I'm pretty sure it's the staff report number.
Okay, so maybe the total is 284, and that's with contingency. So I wanted to ask the question regarding contingency. Is RCTC standard policy to do a 10%? Is that kind of what we want to do here?
I'll go ahead and take that, Bryce. So typically we use a 10% contingency, especially during construction, because there are so many unknowns. Smaller projects, sometimes we use a higher contingency because sometimes on a smaller project, the changes can be out of proportion a little bit, but typically we do use a 10%, especially during construction.
Okay. And sometimes with design, I know there's a lot of times when we don't foresee unforeseen underground things and all of that you might encumber. But if it is 10%, I don't know if we might have transposed a number there because it's 257,000, but the contingency is 27.5 instead of 25.7. So just wanted to call that out. Might have just been a little math thing, but anyway, if that is the case, maybe we can fix that before it goes to full RCTC commission.
Yes, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Mayor Vargas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank Bryce for a great
we lost you.
Oh, there you go. Great presentation. As I indicated before when we spoke about this, we want to get this project done simultaneously as the interchange is being done too. So I appreciate everybody's support on this so we can get those 4 lanes all done all the way to Paris Boulevard, which will enhance access to the interchange for not just Paris, but all our neighboring cities. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Do we have any other commissioners that would like to speak on this item? Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? The floor is yours. Okay, hearing none.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second that. And as long as that transposition, because the 28 afterwards, the odds of that merely being a little bit more than 10% are very, very slim. So I'm sure it'll get cleaned up.
Excellent. We have a first and a second. If there's no further discussion, roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 9, and that's an amendment to the City of Banning's fiscal year 2020-21 short-range transit plan. I believe that Mr. DeHate is going to be walking us through this one.
Yes, sir. And I do have a PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good afternoon, committee members and Mr. Chair. I'm just going to give you a walkthrough of this amendment for the city of Banning for this 2021 SRTP. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background information. Annually, we perform the TDA audit of the city transit funds. This one happened to be for 1920 that we're working on. When we were working on this amendment, we identified a shortfall within their budget. A lot of these shortfall services had to do with unbudgeted consulting services, some increased insurance costs, a lot of fleet maintenance costs, and also increased pension expense and other support services. City staff and commission staff tried to identify a way to help them with finding a solution to their shortfall. City staff analyzed their capital program and realized that there was some capital projects that were of lower priority to them that they could then transfer some of that money to reduce the ask. Also that they found out that with COVID-19 right now and with the pandemic that they didn't need those particular projects at this time. So it did end up reducing their LTF ask from the 351 to 217,000 for 1920 expenses. Next slide, please. So commission and city staff then decided to look at 2021 because we didn't want to have a reoccurrence of this the following year. So we wanted to make sure that they were on track. So when they did look at their current budget for 2021, we also identified another shortfall. It's about 515,000. Most of this was due to, or at least a portion of it was due to their COVID-19 expenses. They had not been collecting any revenue. So with that revenue shortfall, that already put them into the hole. Also, they had the same or similar types of increases that were from 1920 that were identified in their 2021, which then brought the entire shortfall up to the 515. So city staff, again, looked through what they could try to find to help reduce their ask of LTF from RCTC. They identified that their COA that they had originally programmed in 2021, with the way that the current climate was with COVID-19, that they were not going to be able to perform the COA in this current year. So they decided to ask us to reallocate those funds from the COA to their operating ask to reduce the total amount for fiscal year 2021 expenses, which would reduce it down from the 515 to 380,000. Next slide. So this is really a summary of what took place within the staff report. Is that we identified 2 fiscal years worth of shortfalls. There was some offsets, and then the potential to ask for additional LTF allocation is this net of the reprogrammed funds, which is 597,039. Next slide, please. With that, we would ask that the committee approve the city's amendment with all of the reprogramming changes and forward to the commission for final action. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions from commissioners on this item or any comments? Don't all raise your hand at once. Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Also, members of the public, if you are dialing in on the phone, please press *9 if you would like to make yourself heard. Okay, I am not seeing anybody wishing to add any additional commentary to this. So with that, I'm looking for a motion and a second. Okay, we have from Hemet, we have a motion, and second from whom?
5th District.
Okay, perfect. Roll call, please.
District 1,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
yes,
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 10, and that's an amendment to Riverside Transit Agency's fiscal year 2020-2021 short-range transit plan. Mr. DeHate, if you could please walk us through this one as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you again, Mr. Committee members. I don't have a slideshow for this one. This one was much more of a simple good news story as well. During the heat of the pandemic, RTA was asked by both the county of Riverside and counties of San Bernardino to provide a Meal on Wheels program right after all of the stay-at-home orders were issued. And for that, they had reached out to RCTC around June timeframe because this program was going to be extended. So RTA was performing this program from April of 2020 all the way to the conclusion of it, which was March of 2021, which they asked RCTC to include in their short-range transit plan and asked us for the financial assistance that is inside the staff report. After that, we're just bringing this to the commission to add that project to their operating budget, asking for the commission to approve the funding for that and then send this to the commission for final action. That concludes my report on this.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Do we have any comments from commissioners or questions? Yes, Linda Krupa.
Yes, I would just like to say that RTA's Meals on Wheels program was a fantastic success. And as chair of RTA, we were just thrilled with the work that they did, which facilitated not only feeding people, but also keeping other people from being laid off at RTA. So thank you. And I'd like to make a motion to approve when we get to that.
Well, noted. Thank you, Commissioner Krupa, for that. And so we have a first on this. Do we have any other commissioners wishing to speak on this item? Okay, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none, I'm looking for a second on this motion.
A second from Corona.
We have a first and a second. There is no further discussion. Roll call, please.
District 1,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
yes,
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item does pass.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 11, and that is fiscal year 2021-22, Measure A, Commuter Assistance Bus Pool Subsidy Funding Continuation Request. And that is being brought to us by, where did my Michelle McCamish.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Since 1990, RCTC's Commuter Assistance Program has provided a monthly subsidy for commuter bus pool operations in Riverside County, providing an important transportation benefit for a relatively small investment. Next slide, please. A typical bus pool in the program averages over 30 riders, travels over 120 miles round trip, and costs the riders an average of $280 per month out of pocket. There is currently one bus pool originating in Corona, Riverside, and ending out near LAX. Next slide, please. In 2018, the Commission approved an increase to the subsidy from $1,645 to $2,350 per month to help offset the increases in costs to run the bus pool. The Commission's contribution equates to an average subsidy rate of 15%. The increase helped preserve bus pooling as an attractive commute alternative and supported the continuation of the existing bus pool for these essential critical infrastructure workers. Riders are continuing to take numerous measures to follow CDC guidelines during the pandemic. Next slide, please. This past year, the Commission's bus pool program was successful in saving nearly 966,000 miles and over 16,000 trips for an estimated total reduction of over 757,000 pounds of emissions. Staff is recommending the Commission authorize payment of $2,350 per month per bus pool for the period of July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022 to the existing Riverside 1 bus pool and up to 2 additional new bus pools for the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I see we have Commissioner Speak with his hand raised, followed by Commissioner Berkson. Mr. Speak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question, and maybe the executive director can answer this, but I love seeing the 966,000 vehicle miles traveled noted. And I know that I'm hoping to have a call at the end of this week with some folks at Caltrans about the VMT and trying to push what kind of mitigation bank we're going to have or how we're going to identify mitigation. And I think this is a really good point that the rest of the commissioners need to take back to their communities, is if we can start calculating what jobs can eliminate on VMT in your city. This kind of project that 966,000 VMT, and I did the smart tool to figure out how many VMT miles would need mitigation for an extra lane for 25 miles between Corona and Temesco Valley, and it was 230 million, as a round number. So I'm curious if that was intentional, Madam Executive Director, if that was intentional to note that, because I do think we need to make sure we keep track of those things and keep pushing that point home, and hopefully I can push that point home again with Caltrans on Friday.
Yeah, it is intentional, and we've but not recently intentional, if that makes any sense. We've always been tracking that, and it's an important component of the program, but now it's become even more important because now VMT is being measured. I think one of the important things about this program right now is that we were starting to make really good progress with our bus pools, our van pools, our ride sharing. We were kind of turning everything upside down and really making progress. And then now with COVID, we've lost a lot of that momentum. So we're trying to reinvigorate the programs again, get people, get people to be back, back on the bus, back on the van pools, so that we can start demonstrating success with VMT reduction so that we can take credit for that. So the more expansive our ride sharing program can be, including telecommuting, the more we can have credit for the VMT reduction. So we're going to continue to focus on that. And we think it's going to be an important part of compliance with the state requirements.
So is RCTC looking at, I know that, this van pool is run through RCTC and RCTC is subsidizing. I know that other businesses run van pools that maybe aren't subsidized. Do we have a way of trying to capture that information as well, so we can use that as a way to bolster our total VMT?
So we actually track, Michelle, how many employers do we have in our database now?
I haven't, I would have to get back to you on that. Brian might be on and he could answer that.
Okay, Brian, do you know?
Yeah, there's about 300.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
So that's the other part too, is that we're trying to get more and more employers into the program so we can have access to that data. They're required to show, ride sharing for AQMD purposes, but also when we pivoted last year to a telecommuting toolbox that we provided to employers. Again, trying to be able to take full credit for it. And so I think you can see us, in the next several months, really trying to kick that entire program off again, because this is going to be really, really important. And kudos to Brian and Michelle for doing everything they can to keep momentum moving forward in the program, in spite of what's been happening the past 15 months related to COVID and commuting.
I mean, and frankly, if we have people working from home, that saves VMT too. We should be trying to capture that as well. And I don't know if that's an interpretation that that'll happen, but at the same time, we should be getting credit for that. And I think that the more that we can capture those things like that and being a little more imaginative and try and find ways to push the edge of the box there to ensure that we can do all the projects that we need to do and not have to, be saddled with any more mitigation that we already have to pay. But thank you. And I guess that wasn't a question, but just kind of a thank you. But I just I want all the rest of my fellow commissioners to. I've been so in deep with this VMT and I'm the more that we all get kind of instructed on it and how we can best implement and capture information in each one of our cities, the better it's going to be for not only your city but for the RCTC as well. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments and also the feedback from staff on that. Commissioner Berkson, I believe you're up next, followed by Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was simply, in the staff report, it was mentioned that we have one current bus program, but you're looking at possibly 2 additional ones for this next fiscal year. Does staff have any indication that there's anybody applying to have another one or 2? I'm just trying to understand why we're, why is there a push for 2 additional spots unless we know we're either seeking those spots or we have somebody lined up?
So we don't have any current applications in process right now, but we do always budget so that we have the authority in case we do receive applications. We did at one time have 3 bus pools, so that's kind of our baseline.
So it's just kind of, I mean, we would hope that there would be additional, because it's taking a lot of emissions off the road. I was just curious as to why we're pushing for additional units when we don't have them.
But I think since three is what we used to have, and that would be our target to try to get back to that, knowing that we have it included as our budget, this is something that we can start marketing to folks and trying to get some additional people on board. So,
do we have marketing funds separate from this, or how would we market this program? How are we going, or how are we marketing it currently?
So we have our rideshare program where we have we have those 300 plus employers in our database that we have regular meetings with. We actually have a consultant who provides support to RCTC staff in developing that program and doing marketing and holding meetings. Brian, is there anything else you want to weigh in on?
I think that covers it. And anytime that we see, a density of van pools or commuters go into a particular area, we'll upgrade. We'll reach out to them to see if they want to upgrade to a bus pool. So, pockets of car pools make good van pools. Pockets of van pools make great bus pools. So it's that progression that we try to keep an eye on and monitor.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. That brings us to Commissioner Hoffman.
Yeah, thank you, Clint. I just had a question, and I'm reading the requirements in your, it has to consistently met the minimum ridership level of 25 riders per month and averaging 31 riders per month. And my question comes to that is, with COVID, I know at RTA, their ridership on their buses, they maxed out, and I'm going to say, I'm guessing because I think the number is about 15 riders in their per bus. So, and they're only asking for a ridership on a monthly number. My question is what is that equal daily on a ridership? I mean, are these buses with COVID, are we putting 5 people on a day? Or are we putting 12? I can't imagine with the COVID situation the way it was, and we're getting out of that, is that we got 25 to 31 people on there each trip. Is this I'm just trying to see if it's realistic or not, what the actual numbers were, other than the monthly report. Do we have that number?
I mean, they're required to submit the ridership on a monthly basis. I do know that the majority of the riders on this bus work in aerospace. This bus used to average about 45 people, and with COVID happening, they did have some people teleworking that were eligible for that, so they lost some people in that manner. But the majority of the people on the bus continued to go to work daily. So there are close to, 25, 30 people on that bus every single day.
Okay, that's what, I just don't want us to have to supplement something in the last year that's only been getting 2 or 3 riders on a bus headed down the road. And that's not what in the staff report, other than the monthly report, if you can understand what I'm saying. Because then we're not benefiting anything. So as long as we're getting the numbers up there, that's the important part.
We are for sure, yes. This bus was
then
actually, it was critical for them getting to work during COVID.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can understand the way the staff report is written, it doesn't indicate the daily number. It just says, yeah, we had 25 to 31 riders per month. Well, do they go 1 day a week? Are they going 5 days a week? It doesn't have that. And so I appreciate you clearing that for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman, for the question and also for the clarification. Do we have any other commissioners wishing to speak on this item? Okay, I don't see anybody raising their hands. Do we have any member of the public wishing to speak on this item? Not seeing any. So with that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion, Carl.
Okay, we have a first. Do we have a second?
Norco will second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
District 1,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
East Bell,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Ropa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to close to the end of our agenda here, and this is the 1591 Express Lanes Connector update. Mr. Thomas, I believe you're going to be taking us through this.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is the same presentation that I made last month under the Executive Director's staff reports. However, it was requested to be brought back this month so that there could be discussion at the end of the presentation. So here it is again for the second time. Next slide, please. Just capturing the scope of the project here. If you want to focus on the map, I'll explain the color coding. So first of all, the green connector there represents the connector that's existing, that was built with the 91 express lanes to and from the south on I-15 from the 91 express lanes. The scope of this project includes building the connectors to and from the north, represented by the orange color coding, as well as 2 other improvements. The first being the yellow extension of the express lanes about a half a mile further to the east. This is just the single eastbound express lane where the buffer stripe will be continued for another half a mile. And in addition to that, the blue represents a general purpose lane that drops at the left side of that blue line. There's a lane drop, the number 4 general purpose lane. Today, that number 4 lane will extend through the interchange as well and join up with the auxiliary lane that continues until McKinley. So that becomes an additional 4th general purpose lane and again carries all the way through to McKinley. So those are the improvements included with the 1591 Express Lane Connector project. The project is under contract since April of last year with Myers-Rados joint venture. And as I mentioned previously, we've just started construction of the project in April of this year, where the design has been underway for the past year. We will also be utilizing the same toll service provider for this project, and that's Capch. That is our I-15 operator. And Parsons is also our project and construction management consultant. The schedule of the project is to open the project in 2023. It's a $270 million total investment and is expected to create 2,300 jobs. Next slide. The overall benefits of the project are to reduce traffic congestion, improve operations, and enhance safety. The specific project benefits are the connectivity that it will provide between the express lanes and increase travel reliability for people traveling in the express lanes. Next slide. So the main focus of this presentation was to talk about what to expect for traffic impacts during construction. Good timing since we're just kicking off the construction of the project itself. There's 3 major traffic components that I want to present today. And what you're looking at on the screen is the first one, and these are pretty much in chronological order as presented. So the first one will be later this fall. We're looking at, if you look at the map, shifting the southbound I-15 express lanes that just recently opened. There's only one express lane in this vicinity where we approach the 91 interchange. The southbound express lane will cross over the median and be paired up with the northbound express lane. However, it will remain separated as 2 lanes by a K-rail between the 2. The benefit of this is that it allows for the contractor to then access the work zone from the southbound general purpose lanes in and out of that work zone without impacting the express lanes. This component of the project, traffic handling, will be in place from fall of 2021 until spring of 2023. Next slide, please. Second major traffic handling component are the 55-hour weekend closures that are expected for some of the construction components of the project. What you're looking at in the photos are the construction photos from the original connector, the south connector, previously described. And you see the false work, the wood support columns there in the photos. We need to construct those as well for the north connectors over the lanes to support the construction of the bridge. In order to do that, we are proposing a total of 4 directional weekend closures or 55-hour closures, 2 for each of the road beds described. So first of all, the westbound 91, we expect one of these weekend closures to occur in early 2022, and that's to place the false work to build that bridge. And then in late 2022, to remove that same false work for that bridge. Similarly, we're proposing weekend closures on southbound 15 in mid 2022 and then early 2023 to remove that false work. A total of 4 directional weekend closures. Next slide, please. The third component is a reconfiguration of the eastbound 91 lanes as you approach 15. And the purpose for this shift, if you look at the diagram there, you'll see 2 work zones. The work zone that's furthest on the right represents an area kind of in the vicinity of the 15 interchange, and it's a very tight work zone, and we need to build basically another bridge approach for the new connectors in that vicinity. So in order to create space for that work zone, what we're proposing is, as you approach the 15 interchange, if you look at the left side of the page here, you'll see a little square box there where it says reduction of lane number 6 addition at Lincoln Avenue. In the current configuration, as you approach the 15 on eastbound 91, you have 5 general purpose lanes. An additional lane, if you want to call it an auxiliary lane, is added within the vicinity here of the interchange, within the approach, that allows traffic to basically open up and spread out in those lanes. So you're going from 5 to 6 lanes as you approach the 15 interchange. But shortly after the interchange, if you look at the right side of the sheet, you'll see another box that says removal of lane number 4 drop. That auxiliary lane that's pushed through this area in the existing configuration drops after the split of the I-15 movement. So during construction, we're proposing to take that lane, about a 2-mile length of lane, and use that space to accommodate the work zone in the median. We've run it's called a traffic simulation model, micro simulation model for this impact to see what the net effect would be. It's kind of a plus and a minus. You have some plus with having the auxiliary lane, and then by taking the lane drop away, you're actually introducing a slight improvement. But the net difference or the net impact during construction from the model is about a 2 to 3 minutes of additional delay per day during peak periods through this stretch. And it also lengthens the period of the peak period by about 15 minutes on either end. So the front end, I think the 2 to 3 o'clock time frame, and then on the far end in about the 6 o'clock time frame, an additional 15 minutes of peak period spread and about 2 to 3 minutes of additional delay for traffic driving through this area. This is a 9-month period of time from the summer of 2022 to the spring of 2023, but it is a necessary impact in order to accommodate the construction. One of the silver linings, I guess I would say, is the downstream improvement where we talked about earlier in the scope to add capacity through the interchange. We're working to make that available at the time we put this in place. It doesn't really provide an overall benefit other than it just gives us some additional insurance that there isn't going to be a downstream impact that might impact this location further. So that is something we've worked into the schedule, and we're working to have that improvement available at the time that we put this in place. Next slide. So just recapping some of the traffic management components of this project, which are similar to any project. Even though this is design build, we go through a lot of the same processes and approvals. Staging plans are developed, traffic handling plans, and traffic management overall traffic management plan and also focused traffic management plans for the major impacts, and then lane closure requirements that were included in the contract when the contractor bid the project. We've already implemented construction of freeway service patrol. We've added hours to our existing contracts because we have some no shoulder conditions. The goal is to provide that additional freeway service patrol when there are long sections where there's just K-rail next to traffic with no shoulders, and we currently have that on eastbound 91 in locations within the interchange. We will also have additional construction, CHP, construction zone enhancement support during the project. And then, of course, the robust public outreach that we do for noticing closures, and especially the big 55-hour weekend closures, all the outreach that will go into that ahead of time, the use of advanced roadside signage, including Caltrans overhead CMS signs, which are very useful to announce upcoming major closures. Next slide. These are the ways to stay connected. I think I mentioned last time that the quickest way to get an immediate access to upcoming closures and upcoming information about the project is to text the word connector, all caps, as you can see there, to the number shown on the screen. And then the other ways to contact and get information from the project team. Next slide. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I see we have one hand already, but do we have any commissioners? Raise your hand if you would like to speak or comment on this item. And also, please note that this, I believe, is a receive and file presentation today. So we'll go with Commissioner Speak. I see you had your hand raised first. You will be followed by Commissioner Berkson and then Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Thomas, I just had a couple of quick clarification questions. One, thank you for staff for sending this to me. I presented it at a council meeting a couple weeks ago, and I actually had some other questions, so this answered some of those. But I wanted to ask, kind of dial in a little bit more on the lane drop or the lane changes that we're going to have at Lincoln. And I kind of thought the same thing. And I think when you first talked about this, that it sounds like there would be a benefit. But I wanted to see how soon that lane drops does it drop before Lincoln, just after Lincoln? I'm trying to imagine those lanes in my head and which one we're talking about, because I do see, and thank you for saying that when you have those exits, that having more room to move, those auxiliary lanes, and those have proved very valuable there at Main Street and at the 15. And I just wanted to clarify the timing that you said that the additional lane past Main Street, would that be at the beginning of 3A or at the end of 3A?
3A is the schedule, is the stage where this will be implemented. So the schedule for 3A, if you want to bring back up slide 6, summer of 2022 to spring of 2023. So it's about the current schedule shows about a 9 to 10 month, I think it's like 9.5 months in it. That'll be dialed in more exactly as we get closer, but we're looking at the summer of 2022 to spring of 2023. To explain how the lane drops as you approach, if you look at the left side of the screen there, what actually happens today, what you see on the screen is the during construction condition, not the existing condition. So the existing condition, as you see the 5 arrows, the orange arrows, there's actually a 6th lane that just adds to the right in the vicinity of Lincoln Avenue interchange. So if you took a drive out there today, you'd see just this additional lane gets added, and then that gets carried all the way through. It's actually a very smooth striping change where we just never add that lane, and we transfer the number 5 lane to what is the number 6 lane today. And what's actually being removed is the lane in the median, which is where we want the space for the work zone. So all of the lanes transition from left to right to join up with the next lane over, if you will, and then that just carries straight through the interchange.
So the change that the driving public will see will be that additional lane that's in the median just won't appear. I'm just trying to be able to describe this to people. Like, what's the public going to see if they're coming down the 91 and they're passing 6th Street and they're coming up on Lincoln? How is it going to look different to them?
The public may not even perceive the change, to be honest. It might be, I would offer up that I could send you the actual design plans if you're familiar with looking at those, and that might help answer your question.
Okay. Okay, and then you said you did some so that was my next question. My follow-up question was, so then the potential benefit capacity available, when you say early, what do you mean by early? Is that going to be in spring 2023, or is that going to be sometime in between?
Right now, we have it in our schedule to have that in place the summer of 2022.
Okay, great.
So when this is, and with the first order of work, which is under construction now, is that eastbound lane addition. And so the goal is to have an early benefit, if you will, of that extra 4th lane that carries through the interchange. We won't have the 4th lane in this location where the work zone is, but just downstream of this at the I-15, right in the middle of the I-15 interchange is where that 4th lane would open up, and we would have that downstream capacity available.
And will that 4th lane, how will that carry through where the final project will be, or will it kind of peter out after the 15 or go almost to McKinley?
It'll carry through as the final improvement.
Awesome, great. And then could I get a copy of the model on that, just so I can, in my own mind, kind of see it?
I can make it available.
That's perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the questions. Thank you for the responses. Commissioner Berkson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. So a couple things. First, I appreciate you bringing this back, because last time we weren't allowed to ask questions, and I did have some questions on this. The slide that was up, actually, if you could leave that up, one of my questions I could point out, I have a question about that. So if we're looking at the right-hand side of that exhibit, the 3 lanes that are going onto the 91, currently, are there 4 lanes, or are there 3 lanes that go underneath the 15 freeway if you're on the 91 heading eastbound?
There are 4 lanes that carry through at the location that you're seeing on the map. The 15 is just off the map to the right. At that point, we already have the lane drop where it says removal of lane number 4 drop. So you have 4 lanes up to that point, and then you have a lane drop, and then there's 3 lanes that carry through, 3 general purpose lanes that carry through under the I-15. But you also have the express lane, the blue lane, that also becomes a general purpose lane right at that point. So there's actually 4 lanes right at the I-15 separation bridge that open up.
Right, but I'm really only concerned right now in this discussion about the general purpose lanes. There's 3 of them. So the current configuration today, if you're driving through there, if I'm not mistaken, there's 4 lanes And after you pass the off-ramp for the 15 freeway, which is shown there on the right, the 91 portion has an area where that right lane, it ends. So traffic's able to kind of pass by the 15 off-ramp area and continue on the 91 before they have to merge into that lane that's lost. So in essence, what it's doing is allowing traffic to get past the 15 off-ramp. And my fear, of course, would be that you don't show anything like that on this exhibit. And I'm concerned that traffic's going to back up on that 91 during construction, causing even more of an issue for people trying to get off the freeway onto the 15. Does what I'm talking about make sense? Or maybe I need to explain it differently.
Let me try to address it. So where the lane drop is today, that's being striped out so that number 4 lane just becomes a through lane. So there'll no longer be a lane drop. That lane drop actually adds to turbulence and congestion. So that's the benefit of removing the lane drop. The disbenefit is the auxiliary lane leading up to the split of the 15 is lost during this period. So by doing that restriping of what is now the number 3 lane through there, we've removed the inside lane. Similar to how we never developed the 6th lane on the left end of the exhibit, we basically just stripe continuously that outer number 3 lane so that the lane drop goes away. And this is precisely the configuration that was modeled that showed those additional delay of 2 to 3 minutes that I mentioned. So this has been modeled as it appears here.
So I'm just curious, in the event that this gets installed this way and we find out somehow that the 91 is just completely congested, causing issues with people trying to get off onto the 15 off ramp, is there a backup plan, or would we readdress it at that point if it needs to be readdressed? Is that something that we would be looking to do if needed?
Well, we're always monitoring to see what we should do differently. You have to give traffic time to adjust. Usually I say 1 to 2 weeks, where the initial shock is not what you should react by, but to give traffic a little bit of time. We don't typically model. We don't typically do a micro-simulation model of traffic conditions, but we felt this one was significant enough that we should model it so we know the answer to what to expect. So we have spent the additional funds to do that modeling in this case. So we feel pretty confident with what we're presenting here, but we'll always be monitoring to see if there's some adjustments that need to be made. But we do need this space to build the job. There's really very limited construction work zone space here, and this really amounts to about the only way we can do it and still keep traffic flowing.
And could you go to the slide that showed the bigger picture here, where it shows the new lanes past the 15 toward McKinley?
Slide 2. There we go.
So the yellow and blue lines on the right-hand side of the 15, are those the 2 lanes that are going to be put in sooner than later?
Yes, that is correct. From the I-15 to the east is what will be placed sooner.
Okay, because that I think is going to have a major impact on traffic relief in that vicinity, assuming they get past the bottleneck of the 3 lanes getting through the 91 past the 15. The other thing, which I'm actually, I wasn't quite sure where the connection point was. This map appears to show the orange line that comes from the 15 to the 91 westbound, that new toll lane. So it is going to, the entrance/exit on the 91 will be to the west of the existing flyover, the green one?
It'll be at
Is
the
that
same
correct?
where the southbound flyover is.
So if I'm traveling on the 91 eastbound, the first option I'm going to have if I'm in the toll lane would be to get from the 91 toll. The first off ramp would be going to the northbound 15. The second one would be to the 15 south, and then you could go straight ahead to continue on the 91. Is that the way it's going to work?
The way it'll work is as you approach the 15, if you're in the express lanes, there's 2 express lanes today. Today what happens is the left express lane becomes your I-15 south connector lane, single lane, as it splits off from the right express lane, which is the through 91 through express lane to McKinley. With this project, we will actually develop a third lane, an auxiliary lane in advance of that 15 split off. So there will be 3 lanes that will be signed. So you'll have a couple thousand feet of auxiliary lane, or you have a 3-lane segment of the express lanes. And then there will be an arrow over each of those lanes designating which one to get into depending on where you're traveling. The very furthest left express lane will be the current existing connector to the south, because that's where that connector exists and we have to keep that location. The second lane will be the connector to the north, and then the third lane will be the continuous lane to McKinley.
So I bring this up not just because it's curiosity. I did this because, typically today and in the way that it works today, the toll lane gets very clogged up and comes to a standstill for about 1 mile to 2 miles before the 15, most days at peak periods. And that's because the 91 is the issue past the 15. My concern, of course, would be that if we want to get the people off onto the 15 sooner than later, so that backup doesn't prevent people from getting on the 15 and it creates this further backlog. So obviously, if you're getting the yellow and blue striped areas on the map that's on the screen now done first, that should relieve that issue. And then I presume we will have no problems getting people onto the 15 and not having issues in the future from the 91's congestion.
I just want to make sure we have the right expectations. The yellow and blue are proposed to help resolve that exact issue that you mentioned. However, it's not a complete fix for the backup. So we have modeled the yellow and blue lanes in the final condition. There will still be backup peak period, but we felt these were at least improvements that could be made to help with that eastbound congestion in both the general purpose lanes and the express lanes.
I guess if I can just add one more thing, then the concern, I think, is less of the fact that there's a backup, although we would like to not have any backups. But the problem is the backup is the 91 backing up, so nobody can get to the 15 because it backs up to way before the 15 off ramp in the toll lanes. So if you're pushing this, toward McKinley, yeah, you may not have a solid fix, but is it going to push that back up to the point where it's no longer going to impact people trying to get onto the 15 in the toll lanes?
No.
David, can I just jump in here? Commissioner, we incorporated as much improvement on the 91 corridor as we could with the 1591, given that this was a 1591 interchange project. The only thing that's going to make a more significant impact on reducing that congestion on the 91 is if we have another project that picks up from here and goes all the way to Pierce in Riverside. That frankly, as I mentioned at our board meeting, was in track of weeks, a couple of weeks ago, this is pretty much the mode we're in. We're building where we can, but it's basically just shifting the bottlenecks a little bit further away. And the only thing we can do is, keep trying to expand, but we're not, unfortunately, I don't know how we build our way out of this, but we do have another phase of the project that takes it all the way to Pierce, and it currently is not funded.
Very good. Well, that explains that. At least there's a further solution down the road, and we can obviously entertain that at a
literally down the road. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very much,
Commissioner. Commissioner Hoffman, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And Ann answered part of my question, just like what I had with Brian, was that bottleneck. And I drive that area. I had southbound 15, go by the 91 once a week. And you talked about the work zones. And the work zones, this isn't daytime work zone, is it? David, is it going to be work time? Because that would really hurt, especially if you're going to do it work time. I would suggest not doing anything after 12 o'clock noon on Friday. It backs up bad. And we already have that southbound I-15 backing up from Cajalco on all the way to the 91. And it's bad. So is this all nighttime work or is this daytime? Do you know?
The work will be done nighttime and daytime, but lane closures are only going to be allowed at night for the most part.
When that's on your lane closure, but even the work zone, even when there's people working in that zone, we tend to slow down, which is a good idea, but it also causes a greater bottleneck when you have the crews in there. And I'm just making a suggestion to avoid Friday afternoon work time. Get those crews out of there. There's already enough traffic coming off that's trying to merge on that from people trying to go home on that Friday afternoon traffic. That's just a suggestion, but I would seriously look at that to ease that situation, because right now it takes me to go southbound I-15 from Norco. I'll spend 45 minutes to an hour to go from the 6th Street off ramp on the 15 to get to Cajalco. And that's on a good Friday afternoon. And that's what it has been. And then you're going to have the speed zones reduced in there, correct?
Yes.
Is that what you had? Construction 55?
55 miles per hour. That's correct.
Hopefully it's enforced. I mean, seriously, it's got to be enforced. And the reason I say that is because we have a lot of inattentive drivers that realize they can't make those lane changes. And they're crossing over 3 lanes. Just like Brian was saying, this is part of the bottleneck. They don't realize when you do those lane changes, they don't have enough advance warning and just cut right in front of you at the traffic. And that slows it down. But the advance warning is for those people is the key, I think. And the more we can do it, one of the best things, and I know it's a permanent mark on those roadways, is when you mark down the 15 or the 91 on that, when it's marked down on pavement, for some reason, drivers see that. They don't see signs. They do not. But when they see it written on the road in front of them, oh, I can see that. I know what lane I have to be in. And I mean, you're still going to get your people, but at least I think you're going to help yourself out. If you make them temporary on there, just because, I'll be honest with you, inattentiveness is probably one of the worst things in Southern California for people driving. They don't pay attention. And but that was all I had to say. A lot of the questions you asked from Mr. Speaks and Mr. Berkson. So I'm just throwing that out to you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner. We are nearing the 3 o'clock hour. Do we have any additional comments from commissioners? This is a receive and file. Commissioner Benoit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just real quick. Ted, great idea as far as Friday afternoon, but I just be curious, Ann, could you tell us, when we ask a contractor to not work during certain hours, I know in our city we've had some projects like that, the costs have been exorbitant to shift those hours and to change those. What would that impact be on a project like this?
Well, it would be hard to quantify an exact amount, but generally we tell contractors when they can and can't take lane closures. We generally don't tell them when they can work within a construction zone unless it's usually a noise requirement. So, David, I am not aware on this contract, do we have any time of day work restrictions other than lane I mean, I know lane closures, we've got a lot, but.
We do not have any time of day restrictions. So there would be both a cost and a schedule impact for the project.
So hearing that, maybe, Ted, I agree with you, but maybe we can make the suggestion, but not a requirement, just to, throw it out there that we thought about it, but we understand that they have their constraints they have to work in as well. But beyond that would be obviously a fiscal impact I don't think we're quite ready for, especially when we consider the fact that every time we turn around, we want to build more. So when we make these projects more expensive, for details like that, I think it helps us get further down the road. So just my thought.
Excellent. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ann.
And just to let you know too, is when, I mean, these are major construction stages. There's ongoing communication with the contractor during this time frame. The important priority is public safety, work zone safety. Those are always up at the top of the list. So adjustments that need to be made there, those are the two top priorities. Certainly working with Highway Patrol to make sure we do everything we can. And then, it's kind of like the idea with the 55-hour closures. Yes, 55-hour weekend closures are tough, but on the other hand, having to come in night after night after night with closures to try to put all that false work up and then take it back down, we then start impacting the schedule. So it's always a trade-off. And you've got to balance public safety, traveling public safety with overall cost and schedule of the project. But I assure you, we've talked before about how building the 91 and 15 is kind of like doing surgery on the patient while it's awake. Doing the work at the 1591, I'm not sure what analogy we can use here, but it's a lot more complicated than that even. And we are really threading a needle here, but literally and figuratively with this new connector that's being threaded in here.
I got an analogy for you. You're adding an engine to the airplane while we're flying.
Kind of. It's a good, thank you. So again, your questions and your input is really, really important. And, we've got a terrific team on the project and we're going to have to balance all of these priorities as we go forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Need to ask, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Not seeing any here. Just for clarification purposes, this is a receive and file. We don't have to take a vote on this. Is that right? Okay. Anecdotally, I would like to add, in part of hearing the discussions today about daytime and Caltrans work, and there a couple of years back, I was driving north on the 91, and this was in San Bernardino County, so not related to us, but off of the 15 freeway, we had this huge backup, and there was a Caltrans sign, the temporary one off on the shoulder, and traffic was slowed down. And what the sign said was that traffic was clear ahead, and everybody slowed down because they needed to read what that sign said. So it does make a difference. I know it's anecdotal, but these things do matter. So I appreciate the comments from my fellow commissioners. All right, that brings us to our next item, and that is commissioner and staff reports. Do we have any reports?
I have a brief comment if
Yes.
commissioners have anything. So this came up at this morning's Budget and Implementation Committee meeting. There were a lot of agenda items, and so there were a lot of roll call votes, and we had a number of them here today as well. So the question was posed, for how long are we going to be continuing virtual meetings? So I thought I would share with you the current thinking. I've spoken with Chair Harnick about it. Right now, because there are still a lot of confusion about what the law is going to be in terms of whether any Brown Act modifications will exist. We're not sure what the law is going to be. The rules continue to change. What we're planning on right now is that since we will be dark in August, we'll have, so that's no committee meeting in July, we'll be dark in August. The plan right now is to stay virtual for our next 3 meetings. So that's our commission meeting in June, the committee meeting at the end of June, and then the commission meeting in July. And then look at September being when we're all back in some sort of in-person meetings. We again don't know what the rules are. We've got a lot of commissioners, so we don't know what the rules are going to be, if any, related to social distancing or spacing in the boardroom downstairs. So we're kind of waiting for the dust to settle in terms of all of the rules, as well as the Brown Act. So the plan right now is to stay virtual through July and then look at the fall as being back in person. I have had some commissioners say that it is much more convenient for them to be able to attend virtually. And there are others who shared feedback about public access virtually as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but we are monitoring it carefully. What I can guarantee is that if the law changes and we are required to be back in person, then we'll be back in person if the law changes and the accommodations allowed for virtual public meetings go away with the emergency order. So I just want to make sure I shared with you what the current thinking is, and we will keep you posted if any of that changes. Thank you.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Thank you. Do we have any do we have any commissioner comments, reports? Not seeing any hands raised. Okay, thank you all for taking the time today to participate. That brings us to the adjournment of our meeting. The next Western Riverside County Programs and Projects Committee meeting is scheduled to be held at 1:30 p.m. on Monday, June 28th, 2021. And our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all again. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks. Have a good week.
Thank you.